determine the equation of all the graphs, all right? What's fun is you don't have the diploma, so I don't have to ask you the craziest question. I just have to ask you a normal question. But you still will get the past diploma questions, so you'll see what they could be, right? Because you have to be able to do them anyways. Every single graph that is sinusoidal. Now, sinusoidal doesn't just mean a sine graph. It could be sine or cos. Sinusoidal graphs are the repeated graphs that have the same max, same min, same period of length, right? So a sine graph and a cosine graph are both sinusoidal graphs. It's the shape of the graph. Now, every single graph that does this could be written as a sine or a cos graph, and it can be written, bless you, as 4 different equations. A positive sine or a negative sine graph. So your A value, remember your amplitude, could be positive or negative. It would just cause that graph to reflect. Yes? So all that does when it reflects or becomes a cos graph is it's just a different horizontal phase shift. So your A value will be the same for all 4 equations. Your B value will be the same for all 4 equations. Your D value, the midline, same for all 4 equations. The only thing that's different for all 4 equations is your phase shift, because it takes that graph and it shoves it where it needs to be so that they're all in the same spot. Okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to do amplitude first. You guys are doing swimmingly. Great gift. Thank you. All right. Amplitude from a graph. We can do it one of 2 ways. We can count the entire vertical distance and then do what? Divide by 2. That's the amplitude. Or we can use the formula. The formula for amplitude is not given on your formula sheet, but you can memorize it. It's the absolute value of max minus min. Now, why would we do the absolute value of max minus min? Absolute value makes it what? It makes it positive. And what is distance always? Positive. And I told you we have to do the vertical distance divided by 2, correct? Well, absolute value of max minus min just gets you the vertical distance without you having to physically count it. And then you divide it by 2. Okay? So, the maximum on this graph is 10 minus a minus 10 divided by 2 is 10, because it would be 20 divided by 2. We could also count it. 10, 20, half of that is 10. Yes? So that absolute value of max minus min just gets the vertical distance for you. It's positive. Okay? Perfect. Next graph. See, there's an example 2, then there's an example 3, then there's an example 4, then there's an example 5, then there's an example 6, and there's no more. Go find the amplitude of all of them. I don't care what they ask you other than that. Amplitude of all of them. Go. Amplitude of this one would be the absolute value of 2 minus negative 2 divided by 2, which is 4 over 2, which is 2. Next graph. This one is the absolute value of 2 minus negative 2 divided by 2, which is 2. Remember, I talk, you don't. Only thing I asked. Okay. 4. Absolute value of negative 1 minus a minus 7, which is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Or you can literally count it. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Yeah? Next one. Absolute value of 3 minus minus 3 divided by 2 is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Now the next one, amplitude equals the absolute value of 5 minus negative 1 divided by 2 is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay. So, I told you that the A value, the B value, the D value are all the same, correct? The only difference is all of them are phase shift away from being on top of each other, being the exact same graph. So, let's go back to example 1. And we're going to go to the bottom. So we're going to find amplitude, period, midline, and equations. Let's talk about the equations for now. We're going to set up 4 equations. Every single one of these graphs can be represented by 4 equations. Now, some people might say, but I like one better. Cool. If they ask for cos where A is greater than 0, you have to find the cos equation where A is positive. If they say the cos equation where a is less than 0, you have to get the cos equation where it's negative, right? Sine positive, sine negative, right? So they will force you into one, and often it's not the one that's the easiest to find your horizontal phase shift, but sometimes it is. So we're going to do 4 equations. We're going to start off with our a. So we're going to go y equals positive, and what was our amplitude? 10 sine. And we're going to do y equals negative 10 sine. That's how I get my first 2 equations. What do you think the last 2 equations are going to be? Cos. Y equals positive 10 cos. Y equals negative 10 cos. So just so you know as well, next week, Wednesday, is what? You should know this already. Cumulative quiz. Just a small one. And Thursday is going to be, what do you think might happen? Trig. Chapter. What are we in? 5. Quiz. This is the last lesson we're doing in this unit. Graphs, the word problems. Remember how I talked about the word problems? We'll do those at the end of January. Yeah. It's going to have 1 perms and comms question, 1 transformations question, and then the last 3 will be on polynomials and chapter 4 trig. Your cumulative quizzes will only have questions on it from something you wrote a unit exam on. So chapter 5, even after you're done a quiz, can't go on the cumulative quizzes until you write a chapter exam on chapter 5 and 6. So they'll always be on something that you've solidified, you've gotten some quizzes on, you've gotten some unit tests on. Okay? So there'll be 5 questions on that one on Wednesday, 1 terms and cons, 1 transformations, and then the last 3 are going to be polys and trig. Okay. Next question. All right. Amplitude is 2, so we go to do our equations. Y equals 2 sine. Y equals negative 2 sine. Y equals 2 cos. Y equals negative 2 cos. Then we go to the next one. Our amplitude of this one is 2 again. So we're going to get y equals 2 sine. Y equals negative 2 sine. Y equals 2 cos. Y equals negative 2 cos. And then the next one. Our amplitude for this one is 3. So we get y equals 3 sine. Y equals negative 3 sine. Y equals 3 cos. Y equals negative 3 cos. And the next one. Amplitude is 3 again, so y equals 3 sine. Y equals negative 3 sine. Y equals 3 cos. Y equals negative 3 cos. And the next one is 6. Or sorry, this 3. We'll leave this, well, we can fill this in if you look. This one's a sine, but a has to be what? Greater than. So we know we're going to have y equals positive 3 sine for this one. This one is sine, but a is less. So this one would be y equals negative 3 sine. So they can force you into an equation, right? And then this one is cos, where a is positive. So we get y equals positive 3 cos. And then this one is cos, where a is negative. So y equals negative 3 cos. I gave this one in the notes so you could specifically see how they could ask for a specific equation, right? A, B, C, D are complete different equations that they can force you into. They wouldn't ask for all 4, but they could ask for A, B, C, or D. All right, bless you. Let's go back to the front. Okay. The next thing in the equation I want to get is B, correct? B is the period. The period comes from the period. So the period gets us the period, but the period and period are totally different. Period's made up, period's a thing, okay? So they are different. So you cannot put the period in it, but you do need to get the period in order to get B. So let's discuss the period of this graph. We could go, knowing that this is in radians. How do I know this graph's in radians? I look at the x-axis. It's in radians, correct? So I know my formula that I can use is P equals 2 pi over B, or B equals 2 pi over P. Remember, the B's and P's can swap. But the first thing I need to do is get a period. So I can go from a max to a max. That's a period. A max to a min. That's a period. A max to a min times 2, or a min to a max times 2 would be a period. Or I can start on the y-axis, go past a max, past a min, back to the same height. What I need to do is find out how long horizontally it takes till it repeats itself again. On the y-axis here, I actually have a maximum. So I can just go to another maximum. Where is that happening at? 4 pi. So I'm going to put the period for this one is 4 pi. How do I get the period? B equals what? 2 pi over the period. And if I had B, I could do the period divided by B, right? Period equals 2 pi, sorry, divided by B. The B and the P can swap. So if I'm given the B, I can use it to get the P. If I'm given the P, I can use it to get the B, right? So I need the B for the equation. Please, 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 on the test, I will put the period in for B. Look at the test and go like, yeah, right, Lepp, I'm not falling for that. And cross those ones off. That should knock you down to 50%, right? 50-50 guess after that point. If you never fall for B is not the period, you're going to cross off half your answers. You'll have half left. Because I will put the period in for B. And you will pick it. And we will all be sad. Okay? So don't do that. So, B equals 2 pi over 4 pi. So B equals a half, which makes sense because the horizontal stretch would be 2. 2 pi times 2 is 4 pi, right? So I get it back, so I can double check my work. So my B is a half, so I go in here and I go bracket 1/2. Bracket 1/2. Bracket 1/2. Bracket 1/2. You see how my A's and B's have not changed? They're all the same. Because the B is a half. Yeah? Let's go to the next one. What is the period of this graph? Well, I can calculate from 2.5 to minus 0.75 and figure that out. Or I can start on the y-axis if I want to. If on the y-axis you're not starting at a max or a min, you need to go past a max and min before you go back to that height to get the period, right? I am not starting on a max or a min, so I have to keep going. So I go past a max first. Sometimes I go past a min first. This time I go past a max. Then I still have to go past a min. And then I go back up to that height. And where's it at? 2 pi. And for 2.5 wouldn't work. I would have to go further because the max is here. I don't even know where they are. I could go from negative 0.25 to 0.75 pi. Say that's 1 pi. And then times it by 2. I could go from the min to the max, right? And that's a pi times it by 2. I could do that as well. Either way, my period is 2 pi. And this graph is in radians. Because the x-axis is in radians. If your period is 2 pi, what is your B value? 1. Because there is no stretch. But we can prove it by going 2 pi over P. So B would equal 2 pi over 2 pi, which is 1. So I go to my equation. And I go 1, 1. 1, 1. Did you have to put a 1 or could you just leave it blank? You could leave it blank, but lots of people like placeholders. So I'm going to put a 1. Okay, I want you guys to try the other ones. See if you can get the period and the B values. Here you go. All right. So we started a min. Oh, that's fun. And we go to another min, which does say 0.67, but it's actually 0. Thanks, board. This was never a problem before the stupidness of this year. Anyways, it's supposed to be 0.6666 repeating. Because if this is 0.33, that would at least have to be 0.66. which is 2/3. So the period is 2/3. So your B equals 2 pi. Now some people are like, I don't know if it's radians or degrees. Is there a degree symbol on the x-axis? No, so it is radians. 2 pi divided by 2/3 is the same as 2 pi divided by 2/3 this way if you'd like, which is the same as 2 pi times 3/2, which is 3 pi. All right. So we get 3 pi, 3 pi, 3 pi, 3 pi. So sometimes your B value has a pi in it if your x-axis doesn't have pi's, right? It doesn't cancel off. Okay, then we're going to flip over. The next one's actually a max, 2a max. So the period is 4. There's no degrees, so it's radians. So the period is 4. So B equals 2 pi divided by the period, which is 4, which reduces to pi over 2. Once again, my B has a pi in it because the period did not, so the pi's don't cancel, correct? So pi over 2, pi over 2, pi over 2. You can use the horizontal stretch if you'd like, but it's just easier to use the formula and divide it by the period. Okay, then the next one. So you can either go, you can go from -1 to 3, which is 4. You can go to -1 to 1, which is a max to a min, which is 2, and then times by 2, which is 4. Or you could start on the y-axis, go past a min, past a max, back up to that height, and it is 4. Either way, all of those periods are 4. A max to a max, a min to a min, a max to a min times 2. Okay? The period is 4. So B equals 2 pi divided by the period. So B is 2 pi divided by 4. Why are you talking? Pi over 2. All right. So our B is pi over 2. Pi over 2. Pi over 2. Pi over 2. Next page. Okay, this one. If we go from a max to a max, it's really hard because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, no man's land, correct? So I'm going to start here at the 2. I'm going to go past the min, past the max, back to this height, which is pi. So the period equals pi, so B equals 2 pi over pi, which is 2. Yeah? Then we're going to go back, and we're going to do the midline next. C we do last because it's the most brain matter needed. All right. Okay. The midline is the line that cuts the graph in half. You could call it the mean of the graph. It's the average of the graph, right? It's the average between the max and the min. So if I gave you two test values, and I asked you for the average, what would you do? Add them up, divide by 2. So if I want the average, the mean of this graph horizontally, what am I going to do? I'm going to take the min, max, add them up, and divide by 2. Not the absolute value, because your midline, if the whole graph is below the x-axis, your midline is going to be negative, correct? So we can't take the absolute value of it, then it would be wrong. So you take the absolute value for amplitude because it's a distance, but for midline, we just add up the max and the min. We find the average between them, the middle score, right, is what we're doing. So if I want the midline of this one, I'm going to go 10 plus negative 10 divided by 2. Now the catch here is you have to go y equals, because it is a line. Remember, if you don't have a y equals or an x equals, you just have a number. We need an entire line to be drawn. So it has to be y equals because it's a horizontal line. Now 10 plus negative 10 is 0 divided by 2. We're allowed to have a 0 in the numerator. 0 divided by 2 is 0. So y equals 0 is our midline. Now, what we're going to do every single time is we're going to actually go to the graph and draw the midline. It will help you with your sine c values. So go do what I say. So y equals 0 is our midline. We go and draw it. Y equals 0 is actually the x-axis. Go and draw it, please. It will help you for later. If you don't draw it now, you're going to have to draw it later. You know you're right if when you draw the line, it's half the distance, to, like it's the same amplitude down as it is up, right? And our amplitude's 10. So if we count our amplitude from it, up 10, down 10, we get the maximum is, which we talked about yesterday. So our d value is 0. So we're going to get some sort of something in there for our horizontal shift. It's going to be x plus or minus something, plus 0. Same thing here, x plus or minus something, plus 0. Do I actually need the plus 0 at the back? No, I'm putting it there to prove the point. So our A's were the same, our B's were the same, our D's were the same, because our midline doesn't change depending on what graph we have. It's the same line that cuts the graph in half. Okay? And we're going to flip over. Our next one is going to be from negative 2 or 2 to negative 2. So we get y equals. A ton of you on the test, do not write the y. Do not freeze board. I'll just let it breathe for a second. Y equals 2 plus negative 2 divided by 2, which is what? Let's see if it's back. It's going to freeze and die on me. Great, I didn't want all this work that I wrote to be sitting on the board. I wanted to restart from scratch. Hey, you go find all the D's. So for number 2, you should have... Restart. Okay. You should have y equals 0 as your midline. Oh, great. I didn't draw on it. Okay, the next one, and then you should have plus zeros at the back. The next one, you should have 2, once again, y equals 2 plus negative 2 divided by 2, which is 0 over 2, which is y equals 0. So you have the x-axis again. Adjusting, but whatever. Okay. And then you're going to have plus zeros at the back, right? My equations are all gone, so I'm going to have to redo them on Monday. Plus 0 at the back. This one, we're going to have negative 1 and negative 7. So y equals negative 1 plus negative 7 divided by 2, which is negative 8 divided by 2. So y equals negative 4 is my midline. It should be right if... when I draw the negative 4, it's the same amplitude up as down. So it's 3 up, 3 down, and my amplitude for that is 3, correct? So we know we're right. So at the back of each equation now, you should have minus 4, minus 4, minus 4, minus 4, right? My equation just died, so I have to redo them. Okay, awesome. Okay. The next one, it's 3 and negative 3. So we go y equals, double check that you're putting y equals or you don't have a midline, you just have a number. It needs to be y equals. 3 plus negative 3 divided by 2. So y equals 0 divided by 2. So y equals 0 again. So we're going to have plus 0 to the back of every equation. I don't know why she's adjusting herself down. That's so fun. Okay. And then the next one is this last one. So our D, our midline, is y equals 5 plus negative 1 divided by 2, which is 4 divided by 2. So it's y equals 2. And we know we're right because it's 3 up and 3 down and our amplitude is 3. Correct? So at the back of each of these equations, you're going to have y equals, my amplitude was 3 sine, what was my b? 2 theta something. Oh, great. It reverted back to the highlighter. Awesome. Plus 2. Then this one will be y equals negative 3 sine 2 theta plus 2 3 cos 2 theta plus 2. I'd like to state that it's not the table today that's talking. Ooh. That is super not true.
Always clear.
Yeah.